Hi folks, just a quick note at the start of this video that this video and future videos on this playlist will contain heavy speculation regarding evidence connected to Richard Allen in the Delphi case and how they potentially nabbed him. I'm not going to talk about something that has no smoke at all behind it, stuff that seems like nonsense, but I am going to talk about stuff that has a little bit of smoke behind it. And I'll show you that smoke and you can decide if there's a fire there or not. It might be something, it might be nothing, I don't know. But I'm in a place in this case where I'm just a bit confused. Not that any of this ever made any sense, but I'm conflicted because I am struggling to see a scenario where Richard Allen is not Bridge Guy. And I'm also struggling with everything Richard Allen allegedly did alone when they went down the hill. A lot of people in this case already seem to be bunkered down in trenches. On one side you've Richard Allen is definitely guilty, and on the other he's definitely innocent. I'm not in anyone's trench, I'm just standing in the middle getting hit by crossfire like most people I think. But I think to be fair there's probably a lot of people like me as well. I'd also politely appeal to people on both sides not to be afraid to change your mind in the coming weeks, months and during the trial, if we get it. And just don't let confirmation bias sneak in and impact how you process new information. I'm also going to make a little prediction here that if by any chance what I go on to say in this video is true, that when we get to a trial, the defence will allude to, if not outright say, that this evidence is planted. Which would take this case to a new place, because there's a big difference between saying these cops made really, really bad mistakes and saying these cops are planting evidence. If that does go on to happen, like, it seems like people are already a bit primed for that. They've already been primed for this by the defence court filings, by the police and the mistakes that they're constantly making. Like the news from recent days that they deleted all interviews in the first few days after the murders. That is just shocking. It's so bad, but like that combined with what the defence has filed in court, it looks like the public have already been primed to easily take that next step from the cops are really bad to I think the cops are planting evidence. I just don't think it's going to take much for people to make that leap. And fingers crossed it never gets to talk of that. But let's talk about what connects Richard Allen to the crime scene, not including the bullet. The science behind the bullet, in my opinion, is being grossly exaggerated by the prosecution, and due to that exaggeration, it's going to backfire at a trial. Really looking forward to seeing what experts are put on the stand for this. But a bullet alone, under these circumstances, in this case, is not going to cut it for me. So what else? The alleged runes and say the signatures at the scene? I have no idea at this stage how any of that can possibly relate back to Richard Allen. I can't wrap my head around the crime scene and Richard Allen as a person, given what we know about him at this stage. It just doesn't seem to make any bit of sense. I'm also a bit intrigued by the prosecution's confidence. Nick McClelland, Liggett, they seem to have a bit of swag. That might be all for show, but the confidence that they're giving off makes me think that there might be stuff that we don't know about. And obviously, that stuff, if it exists, the defence is going to be extremely quiet about it. They're not going to be filing court documents telling us all the evidence against Richard Allen. They're doing the exact opposite. However, a very interesting thing comes from comparing two documents from the defence, one that they filed themselves and one that was leaked. And by comparing these two documents, I think there might be a little hint inside there. So on page 129 of the Franks document, the defence team starts laying out the evidence that isn't there. They say there's no DNA linking Richard Allen to the crime scene. There's no data extracted from his phones that link him to the murders. There's no data from Libby's phone that connects back to Richard Allen. There's no evidence on his computers. He's not linked to any suspects in this case, other suspects that we've known about. No fingerprints found on the scene, and no evidence found on social media that connects to Richard Allen. So they're saying a lot there. But what aren't they saying? What can we learn from the things that they didn't say there? They didn't mention anything about SIM cards. We know there were SIM cards found. They didn't say anything about Richard Allen's home. They didn't put out that blanket statement that there was nothing found in Richard Allen's home. But the biggest one for me is they completely left out Richard Allen's vehicles. Why? Why no mention of that? If you're going to throw all this stuff in, you might as well throw in the cars. And my second piece of smoke is from the leaked index from the defence. This is just an index of how they were filing some of their documents. And under evidence, guess what the first thing that they have listed? Vehicles. Why is that number one here, but there's no mention of it when you're listing out all the evidence in the Franks document? Is it number one because it's the number one priority that you have to deal with? Like, it seems to me that maybe by contrasting these two documents, there may be something found in one of Richard Allen's cars that is a problem for Richard, that is a problem for his defence. What could that be? A SIM card? One of the trophies taken from the crime scene? Could it be fibres? Fibres from the rope. We know there was a rope found at the crime scene, so rope fibres would be very interesting to me. And they didn't mention that either in the Franks document. They didn't come out and say there was no fibres found at the crime scene that connects back to Richard Allen. They said an awful lot in that Franks document, but is there some insight to be gathered by what they didn't say? I completely get why the vehicles are in the evidence, because he's on CCTV, that's part of the case. But why are all the vehicles in there, and why is it number one? Why is that your priority? Was there something found in one of Richard Allen's vehicles that is the reason why they went looking in the system for a Richard Allen tip? I am very, very suspicious of what they found in Richard Allen's current and old cars, because mainly it's not mentioned when they're yapping on about the evidence in the Franks document, but yet in their own index it's number one on evidence. I'm really interested in people's thoughts on this. Like what do you guys think? Do you think they would have mentioning it in the Franks document if there was nothing found in the cars? Like, why didn't they? I understand why they're getting all the details of the car that Richard Allen was driving in 2017, but what's with all the details of the other car? Why is there seem to be, at the time of this index, a focus on two separate cars? What was found in the other car? I just really think that if there was nothing at all found in any of Richard Allen's vehicles, that they would have been more than happy to tell us about that in the Franks document. But they didn't. They left it out. And then under their own index, it's number one. So is this something got to do with Richard Allen eating paper and making confessions? Because allegedly, before all that happened, he was given discovery items. He's seen some of the evidence that the state has against him. Seen the evidence, started eating paper, started making confessions. Did he see evidence from his car that linked him directly to the crime scene? Let me know your thoughts. Good luck. God bless. I hope everyone has a nice day.